On this Wednesday night, a privacy breach against the Prime Minister. The former RBC worker accused of accessing the bank account of Mark Carney and others.
But once you have access, you can pretty much do whatever you want.
Deadly and destructive. The super typhoon roaring through eastern Asia. The first ever treatment for a debilitating neurological disorder.
I saw the data and cried.
The breakthrough in Huntington's disease. Plus, lunar exploration anticipation. The date for NASA's moon mission moves up.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. An Ottawa man is facing criminal charges accused of accessing the banking profiles of customers while he was an employee of the Royal Bank of Canada. One of those customers is Prime Minister Mark Carney. The RCMP says there's no threat to his safety or national security, but that the information was being gathered for criminal purposes. Touria Izri is following the developments in our top story tonight.
Donna, it seems no Canadian is immune to financial crime, not even the Prime Minister.
Your bank records. What did the RBC say about your bank records?
Mark Carney may be staying quiet, but the RCMP is talking about a stunning breach involving a high-profile client at this Royal Bank of Canada branch, a few steps from Parliament Hill. RCMP accused a former RBC employee of improperly accessing the Prime Minister's banking information for, quote, criminal purposes. 23-year-old Ibrahim El Hakim is charged with fraud over $5,000, unauthorized use of a computer, identity theft, and trafficking in identity information.
It just reinforced that we need to have strong procedures in place, obviously, to preserve privacy, and it applies to all Canadians.
The allegations, first reported by La Presse and Journal de Montréal, say that RCMP believe the breach is linked to organized crime.
That kind of points towards the fact that there may have been an investigation ongoing, and this individual was used by organized crime to dig up profiles or home addresses.
Police would not say how many accounts were spied on. Court documents obtained by Global News show the alleged financial crimes go back 2 years, between November 16, 2023 and June 18th of this year. Officers arrested El Hakim on July 10th and released him under certain conditions. RBC would not comment on specifics, but in a statement said we independently identified unauthorized system access, took immediate action to engage authorities, and the individual named is no longer employed at the bank.
This is like a classic insider threat. Once you have access, you can pretty much do whatever you want.
The Mounties say El Hakim is not known to them, that he does not pose a risk to national security or Carney's personal safety. He's scheduled to appear in court next week. Donna?
All right, Touria Izri, thank you. World leaders are trying to figure out where the U.S. president stands now on Russia's war with Ukraine. At the UN yesterday, Donald Trump said he thinks Ukraine could win back all of its territory. Up until now, he has said Ukraine would have to give up some of its land if it wants peace, something Ukraine's president has always rejected. Today, as Jackson Prosco reports, President Zelensky addressed the General Assembly.
We must use everything we have together to force the aggressor to stop.
Warning of a dangerous new arms race powered by drones and AI, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called for more weapons to beat back Russia.
And only Russia deserves to be blamed for this.
At the UN, Zelensky laid out a new reality in the 3-year-long war, one where Russian aircraft regularly violate NATO airspace, putting all of Europe at risk.
Russian operations are already spreading across countries, and Putin wants to continue this war by expanding it.
Yet Zelensky has also found reason for optimism after a surprising social media post from U.S. President Donald Trump, in which Trump said Ukraine is in a position to fight and win all of Ukraine back. He went on to call Russia a paper tiger.
This post of Trump, it's a big shift.
I feel that way. I really do feel that way. Let them get their land back.
That's a stark change from just a few weeks ago, when Trump told the Ukrainians they would need to make concessions to end the war.
We also need to discuss the possible exchanges of territory.
Moscow responded by saying that Russia is no paper tiger, but instead a real bear. There's no sign the Kremlin is any closer to peace negotiations or even a conversation between Zelensky and Russian President Vladimir Putin, even after Trump's threatened deadlines, the Alaska summit, and repeated phone calls.
I think Trump felt that he had that deal with Putin, and then Putin backs out of that. And I suspect that that was the most frustrating thing, because it was really laying bare that Putin is not making any effort at all.
For all the tough talk, Trump has also said that Russia has at least another month until it faces any fresh U.S. sanctions that might further damage its economy, a sign that any pressure tactics have their limits. Donna?
Jackson Prosco in Washington, thank you. President Trump has reportedly promised Arab and Muslim leaders he won't allow Israel to annex the West Bank, which would destroy any last hope for a two-state solution. The French president says annexing the West Bank would end the Abraham Accords, which Trump negotiated in his first term. At the same time, the U.S. president has warned allies, including Canada, that formally recognizing a Palestinian state rewards Hamas. And Prime Minister Mark Carney, on his last day at the UN, said there are possibilities for Canada to play a role in shaping what comes next. Mackenzie Gray reports.
It was a quick final day. But the gap in terms of financial technology and the solutions has closed. The question is whether we're going to deploy them and scale. Thank you very much. For Mark Carney at the UN, speaking at a sustainability summit and meeting with the Jamaican Prime Minister.
It's a great pleasure, Prime Minister, to finally meet you. We've spoken, and I've admired your work and your leadership.
Your bank. Before flying back to Ottawa to sit down with the Indonesian president from the fourth most populous country in the world, leaving the top Canadian representative at UN Leaders Week as the Foreign Affairs Minister, who sat down with over 37 different countries and global news to discuss Canada's recognition of Palestine.
Is this the ideal scenario? It is not for anyone. Is this a necessity now because of the situation on the ground?
Hamas not willing to recognize Israel's right to exist, and the Israeli parliament voting to annex the West Bank, leading Canada to join 140 other countries in recognizing Palestine. Anand joining the UK and Germany in warning the Israelis against following through on annexation.
Are you concerned that the Israelis are planning to annex portions of the West Bank?
Yes.
Have you raised those concerns with the Israelis at all?
Yes.
Other concerns raised by the Americans, with Secretary of State Marco Rubio believing Canada's decision rewards Hamas. But Anand says it won't hurt the key Canada-U.S. issue.
Did he signal that the disapproval that the Americans have over this decision will impact any trade issues that we have with them?
He did not.
The pair also speaking about the deteriorating situation in Haiti, with the Trump administration reversing a Biden ask to have Canada send troops to Haiti, something Anand ruled out.
We cannot extraterritorially decide what will happen in Haiti. That is a decision for Haiti itself.
The Prime Minister won't be staying in Ottawa for long, heading to London on Thursday to meet with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and attend a World Bank conference, Donna. He'll also be in the UK capital when the Canadian women's rugby team play in the World Cup finals.
Okay, Mackenzie Gray in New York City, thank you. A deadly super typhoon has now hit southern China after tearing through Taiwan and the Philippines. Typhoon Ragasa, the most powerful cyclone in the world this year, has left at least 27 people dead and hundreds of thousands have fled their homes. As Neetu Garcha reports, some of Asia's biggest cities are at a standstill.
Floodwater crashing into this hotel in Hong Kong as Super Typhoon Ragasa leaves widespread power outages and destruction.
It completely gutted right throughout, the whole bottom floor.
In southern China, Ragasa made landfall in Guangdong province. With winds so strong, this vehicle toppled over and there were storm surges of up to 2.8 meters. In eastern Taiwan, rescuers are searching for the missing. The town of Guangfu is swamped in mud after a barrier lake burst its banks. The northern Philippines also flooding and facing winds over 200 kilometers per hour. With the storm alert raised to its highest level, millions are sheltering in southern China and Hong Kong, where flights are grounded and schools are shut down. Experts warn climate change is making storms like this stronger and more frequent. Neetu Garcha, Global News, Vancouver.
In Dallas, a gunman shot 3 people at an Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility before fatally shooting himself. U.S. Homeland Security says the man fired at the ICE building and a van from a nearby rooftop. 1 detainee inside the van was killed and 2 others were critically injured. The FBI director posted a photo on social media of the words anti-ICE written on some of the bullets found at the scene.
The FBI is investigating this incident as an act of targeted violence. It is unfortunately just the most recent example we've seen of targeted violence.
It is the 3rd attack at an immigration center in Texas. Late-night host Jimmy Kimmel expressed both sorrow and defiance last night as his show went back on the air.
It was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't think there's anything funny about it.
In his monologue, Kimmel chose his words carefully, saying he accepted some people felt his comments about Charlie Kirk's killer were ill-timed or unclear, but he made it clear he's not going to stop speaking freely, including about the American president. Heather Yurex-West reports.
After an unexpected absence, all eyes were on Jimmy Kimmel's late-night return.
I'm happy to be here tonight with you.
There were pointed jokes about both Trump and the president of the FCC.
Brendan Carr is the most embarrassing car Republicans have embraced since this one.
But his opening monologue also struck a serious tone as he thanked supporters, including unlikely allies like Republican Senator Ted Cruz, for taking a stand on free speech.
The government threat to silence a comedian the president doesn't like is anti-American. That's anti-American. And I am so glad we have some solidarity on that.
We're in a very strange moment where we're looking at late-night talk show hosts to be the vanguard of democracy in America. I never thought I'd see that. And so I think that he captured the moment quite well.
Kimmel's show remains off the air on 70 ABC affiliates, those owned by Nexstar and Sinclair. And on Truth Social, the U.S. president suggested he wasn't about to let the comedian's return slide. The White House was told by ABC that his show was canceled, he wrote. I think we're going to test ABC out on this. Let's see how we do. Kimmel's initial cancellation followed a comment he made after the murder of Charlie Kirk. To close his first monologue back, he set all joking aside, praising Kirk's widow instead.
On Sunday, Erica Kirk forgave the man who shot her husband. If you believe in the teachings of Jesus, as I do, there it was. That's it.
An unusually somber moment for a late-night comedy show at a time in America that's not very funny. Heather Yurex-West, Global News, Calgary.
Medical breakthrough coming up, how scientists found the first ever treatment for Huntington's disease. In his speech to the United Nations on Tuesday, President Donald Trump insulted not just the UN, but his allies too. And he singled out the mayor of London, the first Muslim to lead that city.
I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible mayor. And it's been so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law.
The mayor, Sadiq Khan, is not bringing in Sharia law. Today, he hit back, pointing to the record number of American tourists and investors he says are choosing London.
We're often the #1 city in the globe when it comes to culture, when it comes to foreign direct investment, when it comes to sports. You know, President Trump has shown he is racist, he is sexist, he is misogynistic, and he's Islamophobic.
And scientists in London have, for the first time, successfully treated Huntington's disease, a devastating degenerative illness that runs in families and has no cure. Using gene therapy, they slowed the progression of the disease by 75%. Symptoms of Huntington's have been compared to a combination of Parkinson's, dementia, and motor neuron disease. And as Redmond Shannon reports, this news is giving families around the world some hope.
I feel emotional because, you know, my mom is 75, and this is the first time that I felt like there's maybe a chance at helping her.
Sebastian Heinz's mother, Shella, has lived with Huntington's disease for over a decade. As her son, he too is at risk of getting the degenerative genetic disease.
She is actually in the hospital right now from a fall where she broke her neck in 2 places. So she's recovering right now in hospital.
Huntington's doesn't only affect motor function, but brain function too, and is eventually fatal. The disease is caused by a genetic mutation and has had no treatment. That was until now, according to these British researchers.
2 weeks ago, I saw the data and cried. It was very clear that this had a clear disease-modifying effect.
Professor Sarah Tabrisi hoped the treatment they trialled could slow the disease progression by 50%, but the results showed an average of 75%.
They are able to stay in work longer, be independent longer, and not face the disability that we know is inevitable.
Tabrisi says one of the 29 patients even returned to work, having previously retired. The treatment involves a one-off and expensive brain surgery, where a safe virus is implanted deep into the brain to reduce the production of the mutant protein that destroys neurons.
My wife and I messaged each other this morning. We were on the phone, and she was like, "Today's a good day." And I said, "Yeah, today's a good day indeed."
The company that developed the treatment says it will apply for US approval next year. There is no date set for Canada, but they say they want it rolled out globally as soon as possible. Donna?
All right, Redmond in London, thank you. Down to the wire ahead, Canada's top court weighs in on the fate of a flock of ostriches. The Supreme Court of Canada has now weighed in on the fate of a flock of ostriches in BC. The court has issued a stay, meaning the birds will live another day. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency arrived at the Universal Ostrich Farm in BC on Monday with an order to cull hundreds of birds after several died of avian flu late last year. The Supreme Court is now considering an application from the farm's owners to appeal a lower court decision that allowed the cull to proceed. A spotlight is being put on allegations of sexual assault in another Canadian sport. This time it is sailing. A lawsuit filed against several sailing organizations alleges an athlete's complaint of sexual assault was ignored by the officials who were supposed to report it. And as Heidi Petracek reports, the complainant also accuses those organizations of retaliation because she spoke out.
The accusations are scathing. The lawsuit accusing Sail Canada, Sail Nova Scotia and the Royal Nova Scotia Yacht Squadron of failing to act when a 21-year-old woman participating in a training event in Nova Scotia in July 2024 reported she was raped by another athlete. Only referred to as AB in the suit, the complainant describes in a radio interview how the alleged assault and how she says it was handled extinguished her passion for the sport.
Because both doing it and not doing it doesn't really feel like my choice. If I give it up, it feels like they've taken it away from me, but they've still taken it away from me.
The lawsuit filed in Kingston Court Tuesday alleges, quote, despite ongoing complaints and pending investigations, the defendants failed to impose interim suspensions. Further, the coaches in the employ of these defendants did not report the rape.
Each one of them, from her perspective, and what we've alleged in the claim, ignored her. And not only did they ignore her, they shunned her.
Incidents such as sexual assault and harassment are supposed to be reported to the Canadian Centre for Ethics in Sport. None of the organizations named in the suit would do an interview. In a statement, Sail Canada says it has worked closely with its Safe Sport partners since becoming aware of this situation last year, a process which has included immediate and proactive communications with the Office of the Sport Integrity Commissioner. The lawsuit is seeking $9 million in damages for ongoing harms. But lawyer Mike Smitchuk says for his client, it's not about the money. It's about accountability and creating change.
She doesn't want others to go through what she went through.
He adds his client has been in no state to pursue criminal charges. None of the allegations have been tested in court, and the defendants have not filed defenses yet. The case is forcing a hard look at the culture inside another Canadian sport. Heidi Petracek, Global News, Halifax.
Next, why Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen says the Artemis II mission is about much more than going to the moon. The countdown is on to NASA's ambitious Artemis II mission around the moon. Blastoff was slated for April next year, but now it may happen as early as February. Today, the 4-member crew, including Canadian Jeremy Hansen, spoke about their challenge and their anticipation. Mike Armstrong reports.
Victor, Christina, Jeremy, we're going to the moon.
They've been together as a crew for 2.5 years, but the excitement is still there. Every day that passes puts them closer to flying an Orion capsule to the moon and back. There is danger, but it's outweighed tenfold by anticipation.
For me, I actually feel completely 100% bought in. When I get in Orion, it's like climbing into my bed and I'll feel warm and tucked in.
A metal and plastic bed.
That camaraderie is going to be important on the mission. It's short, only 9.5 days, but it will be in very close quarters, basically a week and a half in a space about the size of a minivan. The Canadian on board, by the way, takes up more space than the others.
Yeah, Canada did get more than its fair share of the volume on this mission. I've heard it acknowledged many times, so I'm getting a little bit conscious about my size.
Artemis II won't land on the moon. It's very much a test run for missions that will. Everything they'll do from launch to landing is to make sure it works.
We do all of this training, all this preparation, we're buying down all this risk, always thinking about what are we handing off to the next crew? Is what we're developing going to help them achieve that objective?
Now, a couple of months ago, the crew says they locked themselves up to brainstorm a name for their capsule. They wanted something hopeful that spoke to their values. When NASA gives the okay for the crew to launch, they'll do so in the spacecraft integrity. Mike Armstrong, Global News, St. Hubert, Quebec.
And that is Global National for this Wednesday. I'm Donna Friesen. Tonight's Your Canada showcases Aurora, Ontario, Saanich, BC, and Tyra the Tyrannosaurus, the world's largest dinosaur in Drumheller, Alberta. Please send your pictures of Canadian pride to globalnational@globalnews.ca. And thanks for watching. See you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.